All right, welcome back to the fourth and final part of our discussion on epigenetics and schizophrenia. We're going to be diving in first off on socio-environmental implications of understanding that prenatal diet affects risk for schizophrenia. So we established already that there are essential micronutrients and vitamins that are needed for DNA methylation to occur. And when they're not given to a growing fetus, it can increase the risk for schizophrenia later in life. That's established. So what kinds of people aren't getting these nutrients that they need? What kinds of individuals have a poor and inconsistent diet? So if you look at the statistics, lower income adults are more likely to be among those whose diet fails to meet any recommendations for food or consumption in the food guide pyramid. These lower income adults are actually primarily women and minorities, which is sad. What's even more sad is that the percentage of women who have consumed fruit in a 3-day period increases with income level. So this means that income level of an individual's mother could influence the risk for schizophrenia. If income level correlates to the amount of nutrients one's getting, then income level correlates to their schizophrenic risk. Just super, super sad. And it begs the question of whether or not the government should help provide means of obtaining proper nutrition for pregnant women. There's two sides to this, though. The side is the positive, which would help limit schizophrenic risk due to socioeconomic status. So it kind of levels the playing field. There's no increased risk for schizophrenia if we're able to provide either supplements or diet, like the proper food, the proper nutrients to women who are pregnant. However, government support to reduce risk for schizophrenia would fall under the umbrella of universal health care. Universal health care is currently not available in the United States, and there's a lot of complications and political stuff that I am not a fan of getting into that comes with the idea of universal health care. So, what are all my thoughts on this? And if you don't get the meme in the corner, I feel sorry for you because it's funny. Google it. So, what are my thoughts on this? In doing research for this topic, I found it was very complicated in terms of science and ethics. In fact, this presentation barely even scratched the surface on everything that's going on in correlation of epigenetics and schizophrenia. I definitely think that learning how epigenetics ties into diet and serious mental health illnesses like schizophrenia could really pave the way for research into better treatments for mental health problems. So understanding the causes and the sources a lot of times helps us to understand the direction that we should go for treatments and maybe even cures. I also think that education about epigenetics and mental illness could go a long, long, long way in awareness and erasing stigma. Unfortunately, there are still individuals out there that do not take mental illness seriously and do not consider it a real illness. I've come face to face with them many, many times. I think, though, if we really take a step back and educate people on epigenetics and how that influences the expression of genes and the improper expression can lead to conditions like schizophrenia, it can really put an end to blaming people for their mental illness. So it's no longer their fault. It's no longer, oh, it's just, it's just something that you're making up. Just get over it. It's really something wrong with the way their body's functioning. Something else that really struck me was the importance of nutrition. I think sometimes it's easy, for me at least, to dismiss healthy eating. I don't feel like eating fruits and vegetables. Vegetables, I'm not a fan of them. Sorry, Andrew, with your kale chips. I do not like them. But once I really took a deep dive into learning how my body uses the vitamins that people say I need, I'm a lot more motivated make sure I'm getting what I need in my diet. If not for me, then my kids that I might have in the future. This also, really struck me hard in the importance of nutrition for lower income families. We talked about in the last slide the socio-environmental implications of people who can't get the vitamins and nutrients they need because of their, socioeconomic status. And it definitely puts me in a place where I think I could help be a catalyst for change in making sure that people get what they need. All right, I know I just threw a lot of information at you, especially in relation to epigenetics. Some of you may have never really dove into epigenetics before, and schizophrenia, something you might have only just heard of on TV. So I wanted to go over what I think are the 5 major takeaways of the discussion I just had with you guys. So first off, you should understand that epigenetics is the change of phenotype in an individual that is not related to his or her DNA. Second, we talked a little bit about DNA methylation. You should know that DNA methylation regulates the expression of an individual's genes. And in order for this regulation to occur, the body must have adequate micronutrients like vitamin B12 and folate. Next, you should really understand that the diet of a mother during gestation can have a significant impact on the risk of her child developing schizophrenia in their adult life. Kind of the whole point of this, very, very important takeaway. The next thing you should really know is kind of the ethical components of this as a takeaway. So since pregnant women are considered vulnerable populations, you should take away that there are complicated ethical components of conducting research on vulnerable population and how that compares to research on animals, that there's kind of ups and downs to both that really need to be taken into consideration when moving forward with researching topics such as these. Lastly, I think it's an important takeaway that the socioeconomic status of an individual has the possibility of impacting one's risk for developing schizophrenia. Many low-income individuals do not get the nutrients they need, and that can lead to increased schizophrenic risk, which is sad, but at the end of the day, that is a takeaway that you need to get from this. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen. Feel free to send me a message if you have any questions about this at all. I know it's complicated and a lot, but I find it very interesting. I will attach in the email a little mini quiz review for you guys to make sure that you are on the right track with understanding. And also here is page 1 of my sources. Yes, I had 2 pages of sources. I was worried that I would not have enough, and here we are. So thanks again, and I really hope you guys are holding up in quarantine. I know I've been sick for a really long time, so thanks for hanging in there with this presentation with me, and I'll be praying for you guys.